You're listening to the Screeners Podcast Network.
From the big screen to the small screen and everything in between, this is the Screeners Podcast, where all media is appreciated, but none is safe.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Screeners Podcast. This is Chad.
This is Chris.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Daniel.
And it's that time of year, January 2018, when we talk about our top 10 movies of 2017. This year, it took us a little bit longer to see all the movies that we wanted to see in order to make up a respectable list, especially Josh, but we'll get to that later. We're very excited to talk with you tonight. We all have prepared individually our top 10 favorite films of 2017. We're going to talk about some of our favorite performances and other things. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, guys, this is usually one of our longest shows of the year, but also one of our favorites. Are you guys ready to share with the world your lists?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm not going to see any more movies between now and then, so let's get this over with.
That is fair. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our number 10 films, and we're going to go in order. We'll count down number 10 to number 1, and hopefully if we have a movie that is the clear consensus pick for the Screeners Best Of, we will crown it the 2017 champion. So guys, here we go. Chris, let's start with you. What is your number 10 favorite movie of the year?
Yes, and I love that you're using the word favorite. I really appreciate that because I am a lover of loving things. And so these are my top 10 favorite movies that I loved this year. My number 10 would be Molly's Game. We just saw this not too long ago, but I really enjoyed this film a lot. I just love Aaron Sorkin. I think he's almost a genre in and of himself, and so for me, I enjoyed his directorial debut, and I thought it was an excellent film. It was thrilling and an enjoyable watch. So for me, number 10, Molly's Game.
Molly's Game. Josh, did you ever get a chance to see Molly's Game? I know you hadn't seen it when we did last time.
I have not yet, and it's still on my list, and we'll get to that.
Oh, okay. Well, we may. Okay, all right. Spoiler alert. We'll leave that alone for now.
Wow.
So let's go to you, Josh. I know Chris likes to put his list together based on what his favorite films are.
Yes.
Some people like to do what they think is objectively the best. How do you put your list together, Josh?
Yeah, I was going to say, we normally do a little blurb about how we put our list together, and my list every year carries the Josh disclaimer, and the Josh disclaimer for 2017 is that I was looking through all the release lists last year, and I've seen a grand total of 18 movies that were released last year. So I didn't have to put any movies on my list that I didn't like, but I was this close to having to do that. So my top 10 list is really just almost in no particular order. The top 5, top 6, no, actually, I enjoyed all of these movies. The top 3 might be in order, 4 maybe. Anyways, my number 10 movie is a movie that is a sequel, and I didn't see the first one of, but I enjoyed the sequel enough to put it on the list. So it was Blade Runner 2049.
Okay. Well, I think the lead there is that Josh had 4 films at least that he liked. I'm excited. I'm excited to find out what 9 films you thought were better than Blade Runner. Okay. All right. Well, that takes us to Daniel. I know Josh saw 18 films, in 2017. I think Daniel saw 18 last week. So, Daniel, how do you go about putting your list together? Is this a favorites? Is this a best of, a combo? I mean, how do you put your list together, and what's your number 10?
Yeah, for me, I have a running list all year round. I keep it on Letterboxd, which is a fantastic site for anybody who loves movies. So I have a list there, and anytime I like a film, I add it there. So I have a pretty huge list, and I just kind of tweak it as the year goes on. And yeah, favorite, best of, it's movies that impacted me. So whatever that means, it moved me in some way or affected me in some way. So favorites, I guess, is probably the more appropriate term. So yeah, I saw a few more than 18 movies. I saw 147 2017 releases.
Holy cow.
Went to the theater 110 times last year. Thank you, MoviePass. And so, yeah, I had a good year. It was really tough to narrow down the list since there were so many movies, obviously, but I'll definitely have some honorable mentions. For my number 10, it's a film that is really, it's crude and in your face, but it's really fascinating, and a fascinating look at a character that we all kind of think we know, and that is I, Tonya. Really incredible performances, and really makes you kind of evaluate what you think you know about Tonya Harding. And on top of all that, it's just hilarious. It's just a really funny movie. So yeah, that's my number 10 film.
Colored in no way by the fact that you interviewed one of the actors from that movie.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention it.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you've seen that movie, he really does steal the show.
Oh, there's no
that
question.
Film. And what's even more remarkable is in the credits of that movie, and this is not a spoiler, but in the credits of that movie, you see a clip of the real person that he was playing, and it's a dead ringer, not just from an impersonation standpoint, but the dumb things that he says in the movie that you think cannot be real, the real guy actually said it. It's insane.
Crazy. And we're talking about Paul Hauser, who is really, really fantastic in the movie. And yes, we got to interview him a few weeks back, so go listen to that if we haven't plugged that enough already. But yeah, it's a really good film. Even if I hadn't interviewed him, he's great in it.
I agree. It is a very good film. Well, my 10 is put together very close to how yours is, Daniel. I keep a list of movies that I need to see throughout the year, and I check them off as I go. And anything that I think even has the potential of being a top 10 movie, I put it into a working list, and then the whittling it down is the difficult part at the end of the year. But I certainly go about this for movies that were my favorite. I think there are some movies that, if I'm just reading a lot of my honorable mentions, from just a filmmaking standpoint, are probably better movies, what I would consider better than some on my list. But the ones that made my list were the ones that impacted me or that I really enjoyed or moved me in some way. So my number 10 movie is one that when I first saw it, I didn't know that it would make my 10, but as I kept whittling it down and thinking about the performances and everything, it stayed on there. And that is Mudbound. From Netflix. Yeah, now I have this movie, it takes about 35 minutes to actually get going, but once it does, I think the performances and the cinematography in this movie are just stellar. And it's a very difficult story to watch. It's hard to get through some of the scenes, and it's not necessarily a new take on this kind of story that we've heard or seen before, but it's immaculately shot. I mean, just beautiful scenery, and the performances are spot on. So that's on Netflix right now. If you get a chance to see it, it's just one of those things that I was just thinking, if this movie were released now in the theaters, or not now, but a couple months ago, I guarantee there'd be some awards, at least chatter about it. But because Netflix just doesn't know how to do anything except promote movies like Bright, then movies like this get buried. So it's kind of a bummer. Have any of you guys seen Mudbound?
I haven't.
Yeah. It's. I agree with you. Netflix really buried it. It's crazy, but it's got some awards potential. It's going to be nominated for cinematography. The nominations will be out by the time we release this show, so we'll see if I'm wrong. But Mary J. Blige has a shot. The movie just it was a bad choice for Netflix because it's very slow moving. So admittedly, when I was watching it, I got distracted. I got on my phone and did all this and that. So it was really good, but I think I would have liked it a lot more had I seen it in the theaters. So
what is the elevator? I mean, what is it about? What is this movie about?
It's based on a novel that is around a 1940s segregated family, or not a family, I should say. It's a white family and a black family that work on the same farm, and about what's happening around the war and that town that they live in Mississippi. So
got it. Okay,
it's
cool.
It's really good.
It is really good.
It's worth a watch for sure.
Okay.
All right. Well, that takes us to our number 9. Chris, back to you. What is your 9th favorite film of 2017?
You know, one of the things too that when putting this list together, was thinking about was films that I had constantly recommended or was talking about or had watched multiple times. So things that just kept coming up throughout the year. And this one came out pretty early in the year. In fact, I almost forgot about it until I started looking at the films that had come out. I believe it came out in January, if I'm not mistaken, and that is M. Night Shyamalan's new film, Split.
Okay.
I was really blown away by it. I had a great time, and I think I've seen this movie 3 times, just with 3 different groups of people who had missed it, didn't know it was out, and so we rented it at home or in various different places on the road or whatever, and really just had a good time with this film. I think M. Night is definitely back in his wheelhouse. He's a kind of a perfect fit for what's the production house that's doing all these now? Blumhouse, yes, Blumhouse. So I think that those guys are really working well together, and I hope they keep those restrictions as far as how much money he can spend in budget and all that really a great film. I thought some really good performances. Yeah, I really liked it. Split is my number 9.
Yeah, good pick. James McAvoy's great in that movie, for
Yes.
sure. All right, so Joshua, that takes us to you. What is your number 9 film?
My number 9 is another movie that got a little bit buried by Netflix. We noticed it just pretty much right after it came out, I think. It popped up on our queue, and we're like, well, we'll go ahead and give that a shot. This might be a controversial pick for a top 10 list, but my number 9 is War Machine, starring Brad Pitt.
We are here to build, to protect, to support the civilian population. To that end, we must avoid killing it at all costs. We can't help them and kill them at the same time. It just ain't humanly possible. Now,
This war's been running 8 years now. Given your reputation and your formidable drive, our hope is that you're the man who will get the job done.
Most of us here will know General McMahon as the man who kicked Al-Qaeda in the sack. You're welcome.
Get your troops in order. Move the needle a little bit. Show everyone a nice looking set of graphs.
just finish this thing.
It's a lost cause.
We can stay in Afghanistan forever.
That's why I'm gonna win it.
So I don't want to go too much into it here because it might show up again for me in this episode. Spoiler alert for this episode. But I think this movie might have been a little bit slighted by the critics. It has like a 54% on Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic or one of those. And I think it's worth a little bit more than that, and it's worth a watch if you haven't seen it. Have any of you guys actually seen it?
Yes.
Okay. I was going to say I gathered that Daniel had, and he didn't like it as much as I did.
No, I didn't. I just didn't think it was funny enough, or like and the story wasn't interesting enough. So it was just kind of, it wasn't bad. It was just kind of like right down the middle. So I was a little ambivalent towards it.
So I've been reading several things about different movies lately. So I might have the wrong movie here, but was this the one that was produced by the same people as The Big Short? Because that would explain everything.
Yes, it was.
Okay, that's what I thought. That explains it. I guess I'm right, is what I'm saying.
That's why Daniel hated it? Is that
Yes,
what you're saying?
yes.
Okay, all right, got it. Yeah.
It was better than The Big Short.
Oh, dang.
That's not even true.
Oh, man.
Interesting pick, yeah. So is Brad Pitt? I've only seen the trailer, and that's how I knew that the producers of The Big Short, because they say that in the trailer. Is his character kind of a buffoon in the movie? Is that the deal?
Yes, but this movie is based on what's it called? The Operators, the actual expose from the Rolling Stone reporter who trailed Stanley McChrystal and his entourage, and it's what got Stanley McChrystal taken down as the leader of the war over there. So it's based on a true story, essentially like The Big Short, just a slightly fictionalized version of it. I think it's pretty great, but that's just me.
Okay, War Machine by Josh, recommended by Josh. All right, Daniel, that takes us to you. What's your number 9?
My number 9 pick is Call Me By Your Name. It is one of the most authentic movies of the year, and it's mainly because of the performance of Timothée Chalamet. He is just really great in the movie, and he carries the whole movie on his shoulders. And so the movie's not perfect. It's kind of, it can be a bit wandering, but the movie, I actually had it lower on my list initially when I first saw it, and I just kind of, because it has such a strong ending, it has one of the best final shots of possibly any movie in history. It's up there, and because it ends so strongly, I just kept thinking about it, and so it rose up in the ranks. So I have it at number 9. Call Me by Your Name.
Call Me by Your Name. Okay, that's definitely a pick that'll get some, I think, Academy love in many. Well, maybe not many, but several categories.
Did you end up seeing that, Chad?
Yeah, I saw it. I liked it a lot. I agree with you about the ending for sure. Wow, that was clearly the moment that kind of makes the movie land emotionally.
Right.
But for me, I think overall it's lusciously shot. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful, and everything about the food and the place, all of it is just it's immaculately done. But I just felt like the story in and of itself was just kind of okay. I mean, it was. I agree about the performance. I think he encapsulates exactly the awkwardness of that whole situation and first love and first experiences, and it's a marvelous performance. But I think overall the movie just left me kind of cold because it was just kind of as far as the story itself.
Yeah,
but,
I can't argue too much. I think the emotion just kind of it really did stick the landing. That really was it for me. So yeah, I can't argue too much.
No doubt about that. So my number 9 is a movie that I never thought would have made my list, but the more and more, and it was lower, just like Daniel mentioned, and it worked its way back up because the more and more I thought about it, theatrically, this was the most emotional I was all year, and it's Only the Brave. This movie has some problems. It's not a perfect movie, but there was no movie in 2017 that moved me more in the theater than this one. The performances are stellar. The brotherhood that these men exhibit based on the true story of the Granite Hotshot is perfect. It's just how those kinds of relationships work, and the story in and of itself just wrecked me. And the performances are great. Josh Brolin, Miles Teller, Jeff Bridges, just great across the board. So unexpectedly, Only the Brave is my number 9. So.
Yeah, that was really good. Really, I agree with you. That was so emotional. It's crazy.
Yep. All right, so that takes us now to Chris. Chris, we're up to number 8. What's your number 8 film of the year?
Wonder Woman. It was interesting. There was such debate about whether or not a female superhero could do well at the box office because of the track record that female superheroes have had. And of course, Wonder Woman has blown that out of the water. I think today it's got like $821 million. It's made $821 million. And so, it's definitely a bona fide success. Patty Jenkins as the director, I think, was absolutely the right move. I truly wish they would just give her the entire DC world and just say, make what you want to make. And anyway, I really enjoyed Wonder Woman. It was spectacular. One of the very best kind of action sequences in the no man's land moment in that film of any film this year. It was a really great action sequence. So for me, number 8 is Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I agree about no man's land sequence. It's fantastic. If only the last 20 minutes of the movie weren't garbage. But you're right. It's a good movie for sure, and one that I think a lot of people agree with you that DC may be the only DC movie up to this point recently that got it right. So that takes us to you now, Josh. What's your number 8?
All right, my number 8, if my number 9 didn't do it for you, my number 8 will be the one that tells you that I did not see enough movies last year. But it made it this high in the list because A, I saw it pretty recently, and B, I was just kind of riveted. I don't want to say riveted, but very interested the whole time. And that was a Netflix maybe documentary called Jim and Andy about the making of Man on the Moon. And Daniel saw this and he has his own take about it, which may or may not be accurate. But either way, this movie is very entertaining. Watching the Jim Carrey interview spliced together with this behind-the-scenes footage from Man on the Moon is just a great hour and a half. It's entertaining.
Oh, I'm with you on that one. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely just the framework and how it's put together is worth a watch just for that part of it, let alone seeing Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey at the height of his powers.
Right.
And at the height of his craziness now.
Yeah, I was going to say seeing him now and just being this calm and this crazy is a thing to behold.
You know what's really crazy is there's some of that, the longer he talks about some of his theories about life and different things, he starts to kind of make sense. I'm like, whoa, I've got to step away. I've got to step away.
Oh, man.
He's drawing me in.
Be careful. Don't get sucked in.
Just got to do what Andy wants to do.
I'm telling you. All right, so Daniel, let's go to you. What was your number 8 film?
Well, we reviewed it earlier in the year, and I still love it as much as I did when we recorded. My number 8 pick is The Big Sick. It is sweet and hilarious and charming. It's a pure rom-com, which we don't have that often anymore, honestly. It has some of the funniest, the biggest laughs of the year easily. We talked about it in our review, and it's just it's a movie about bringing people together. I mean, come on, we need that right now. So, Big Sick is great, and it's already on Amazon Prime, so everybody can go watch it if you have Amazon Prime at least. So go watch it because it's great.
Yeah, you should. I just watched it with my wife the other day, and it was great. It really was.
Nice. That was your first time watching it?
It was. It was our first time seeing it. Yeah, we kind of delayed it because honestly, I thought it was going to be. Well, I don't want to give any spoilers, but based on the title, I thought it was going to be sad. And so I was like, well, it's getting all this, award buzz and the title, so I'm going to assume this movie is going to be somewhat sad. And it's I don't want to say anything about it, but other than you should watch it, even if that is your worry. So yeah. It's really great.
It is.
Yeah, and as far as it being sad, I heard an interview with Kumail Nanjiani who said that when they were working through the drafts of the script, that at one point Judd Apatow made them go in and just insert 50 more jokes into the screenplay. Just to see, he's like, it needs more jokes, and you have to get in 50. And
nice.
I think he said they ended up putting in 47, and of the 47, like 26 of them made it in there. So it is really very funny, and just in time for Amazon to say that they're not interested in making these kinds of movies anymore. They want to go to Blockbuster. So
Ridiculous.
Isn't that great? But anyway, so this takes me to my number 8. Again, unexpected. I saw this movie earlier in the year, and it just stuck with me. I recently saw it again, and it holds up. Great performances, fantastic action, but a seriousness that I think gets it right. And so that movie for me is Logan. I had no intention when I saw it of thinking it would be on my top 10 of the year, because this is one of those where I think I've got some better quote unquote movies that are below it, but this one just really, it just hit me in a great place as far as accomplishing what it was trying to do and do a serious take on this character. So for me, Logan was an easy pick. Nice. All right, which takes us now back to Chris, and Chris, we're up to number 7. What is your lucky number 7?
Well, I enjoy a good documentary, and Netflix has gotten a lot of love from us already on our list. We're not even halfway through, and yet I think we've already thrown out 4 or 5 Netflix films, and I'm going to do another one. I tell you what, I saw this pop up, I heard some things about it, and once I watched it, I was blown away, and that is Icarus. Guys, listen to me. I had chosen this to have a voice, not a voice, to play the trailer before I talked about it, and I'm telling you what, there's too many spoilers even in the audio of this. So don't watch the trailer, please. I hadn't watched the trailer. I didn't know what it was about. I assumed it was about something completely different than it ended up being, and that's why I loved this so much. This documentary takes you on a ride. It is the antithesis of what a documentarian does when he gets fully drawn into a story. And I'm telling you what, the rabbit hole, the story that you go through, the beginning, middle, and end, you start someplace that you never thought you'd start from, and then you'd end up someplace completely different. It's nuts. So please spare yourself. Just click play on Icarus. Don't look at anything about it. Don't read the summary. Don't watch the trailer. Just watch the movie. It is a spectacular ride.
Yep, and for the record, almost all movies are better that way. I'll just leave that. Leave it at that.
I'm not going to disagree. I'm not going to disagree with you on that, but especially this film, because if you don't know what it's about, it'll blow you away. It really will.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true.
That is true.
Very true.
That's a good pick. Yeah, that's a very good pick. All right, some documentaries getting love here tonight in our top 10s. I like that. All right, Josh, let's go to you. What's your number 7?
Okay, speaking of movies that we never expected to be on our top 10, this is a genre that I never expected to be on any top list ever. But, again, 18 movies last year. But this is a good movie, despite the fact that I did not see any movies last year. And that is Jordan Peele's Get Out. It is just a gripping horror movie? Can I say that and still be who I am? I guess. I guess. But it got awards nominations in the comedy category, so I at least have a little bit of saving grace there. You should watch Get Out.
I agree.
Yeah, the Hollywood Foreign Press has your back, Josh. You want to use them as your credibility standard. Yeah, Get Out's great. There's no doubt about it. Good pick there for sure. Daniel, what about you? What's your number 7?
With my number 7 pick, it's Dunkirk. Christopher Nolan took the war genre and was something we've seen 100 times, and he managed to do something really unique and different with it. He had this unique narrative structure and weaved these multiple stories together in a really interesting and new way. And so The movie is insanely tense. It is really gripping, and it's amazing cinematography and performances and everything. It's just all around a spectacular film. So, yes, Dunkirk is my number 7 pick.
Agreed. Agree with that assessment for sure. My number 7 is a movie that I laughed so much in this movie, partly because of the crowd that I was with. It was obvious that we were all fans of what we were seeing, and that's The Disaster Artist. Great performance by James Franco. I hold a quote-unquote special place in my heart for The Room, and so it was just really nice to see this movie that talked about friendship and not giving up on your dreams. And it's very interesting now to see Tommy Wiseau at real award shows, and it's just a good, happy, funny film. So for me, that's my number 7, The Disaster Artist. Josh or Chris, did you guys ever see this one?
Yeah, oh, yes. I love The Disaster Artist. It was wonderful.
Oh, that's right. We reviewed it. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, Chris. Yeah, you liked it. That's right. Josh, you need to see it. I think you would like it.
Well, I need to see The Room first,
After you
right?
see The Room, yes. After you see The Room.
And when am I going to do that? Because my wife's not going to watch it with me.
I think your wife would make it 14 seconds into The Room, and that would be it. So I've got a DVD copy, Josh. It'll be like the old days. I'll slide it under your door, and then you just have to.
We've traded DVDs before. I remember the last time we traded a DVD, and we won't talk about that.
Oh boy,
I don't. And I'm afraid to ask because I'm sure it's true. So, moving right along, Chris.
Yeah.
Up to that took an unexpected turn.
Sure did.
All right, Chris, we're up to our number 6. What's your number 6 film?
Okay, so Melody and I were out of town, and we wanted to see a movie, and this would not have been the movie we would have picked, but we thought, you know what, we're familiar with the director, we really like Edgar Wright, so let's go see Baby Driver. And holy cow, that movie blew us away. It's a musical action thriller crime drama. It's insane, and it's unlike anything I've ever seen. It really is great. I loved Baby Driver, and it's my number 6.
That's a great pick, Chris, for sure. I think it may be my favorite of Edgar Wright's. It is really great. All right, Josh, this goes to you. Number 6. What is your number 6?
Number 6. Number 6. This is where we get to the part of my list where all of my things have been said before, but are lower on everyone else's list. My number 6 is also a movie I didn't expect to be on a top 10 list, but it's Logan.
We got ourselves an X-Men fan. Maybe a quarter of it happened, and not like this. In the real world, people die.
Logan.
I don't want to talk about it.
Logan. Just stop. Be careful. I need the girl.
What girl?
Go get her.
So, yeah, anyone who has listened to this show for the last, I don't know, year or two or more, because I've been sick of superhero movies from probably more than 2 years now, knows that I'm sick of superhero movies. But Logan is not that. Logan features a few Marvel superheroes, but it's a drama, and a good one at that. It's visceral, it's violent, but it's also very, very emotional. It's Hugh Jackman's 9th movie as Wolverine, which is just insane. But it is unlike any of the others, and it's worth a watch if you can make it through the brutality of it all. It's got a very, very heartfit story.
I agree. It's a great movie.
Plus, it's the movie that got me the nickname Caliban, so there's that.
It has my favorite closing shot of the year of any film that I saw. It's just so great. So great. All right, Daniel, it goes to you. We're up to number 6. What's your 6th favorite film of 2017?
Well, there are some movies that you don't necessarily call enjoyable, but you highly recommend them. And for me, this year, that is Detroit.
Detroit, a city of war. On the city's west side, a 150-block area is off limits to everybody. U.S. Army paratroopers, National Guardsmen, state and local police are continuing the fight against a handful of snipers.
Hello. Oh, everything is fine. No trouble here. I'll sleep when they stop riding.
Hey, fellas. I'm going to that grocery store across the street. I come bearing gifts.
Thank you. You got any sugar?
Nah, don't push it, man.
It's a war zone out there. They're destroying the city.
Whoa, hey, y'all seen this?
Hey, look, we're not too far from the Algiers. Let's just go there till all this blows over.
So this movie just really, really moved me. It is, like I said, not exactly enjoyable. It's a really difficult film to watch. It is really challenging and tense, and but it really, in a good, necessary way. Hopefully, it makes you as angry as it made hopefully, it makes you as angry as it made me. I was really. I mean, it brought me to tears. This is what film does best. It enlightens you to experiences that you can't normally experience in the real world. This is something that I won't ever have to experience, but it's something that I need to know about, and we all need to be concerned about. And so that's what this movie did for me, and it really moved me and challenged me. So I really recommend you seeing it. It's Detroit.
Yeah, that's a solid pick. I think we talked about that on a bonus episode or something, Daniel, at some point, just in passing. And that was a movie that I appreciated more than I like. I feel like it has some problems, but I certainly understand how it landed as high as it did on your list. It's put together just brilliantly, for sure. And along that same theme of films that moved you, but on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, for me, is, and this is kind of the theme for me of the bottom half of my top 10, were movies that when I saw them, I didn't think had any chance of making my top 10, but that stayed with me. And that is Pixar's Coco. If I'm being completely honest about this movie, it is so beautiful. It captures the Mexican culture so perfectly and puts characters like that in front of children that normally aren't used to seeing characters portrayed accurately from a different culture. It's inclusive. It's beautiful. It's moving at the end in a way that I still get emotional just even thinking about it. And it's just from an animation standpoint, it's as good as it gets, and for me, a movie that has stayed with me long after my first viewing. So Pixar does it again as far as I'm concerned, and it is Coco for sure. Which now takes us to Chris. We're in our top 5 in the home stretch here, Chris. What is your number 5?
Well, it's already been mentioned twice, but for me, it's Logan. Goodness. I don't know. I don't want to say too much more about it because we've already said a lot, but Patrick Stewart back as Professor X, Hugh Jackman, their performances alone, the journey that they go on, the simplicity of the plot, just culminates in just an amazing film. The ending of this movie, just like you said, Chad, is emotional where it had no right to be emotional. So I was blown away by this film. I really had a good time watching it. And it kind of hit me on an emotional level that was unexpected. So Logan for me is my number 5.
Okay, solid pick. Josh, to you, what's your number 5?
For me is one that you already covered pretty well, Chad, but it's Only the Brave. I did. Yes. It hit 5. I did know the story going into it, so it didn't have quite the same emotional impact at the end, at least, that it did for you. But at the same time, you watch this movie, or at least my experience watching the movie was that if this hadn't been a true story, some of the interactions and some of the plot points for the various characters would have been a little bit too on the nose, a little bit too played for effect. But it's real, and the performances are fantastic, and it's definitely worth seeing.
Oh man, I agree. I'm trying to get some friends of mine that they don't know the story, but you tell them about it, and they're like, sounds like just another one of those hero movies. But this one, I think, is a step above, and I wish people would go see it. All right, Daniel, number 5 for you. Where are you?
I, at number 5, have 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. It's confrontational and violent and angry, but it's really enjoyable and really funny at a lot of times, and moving as well. We reviewed it on a bonus episode. It's one of the movies that was the most unpredictable for me. I really never had a clue where it was going, and so I thought it was They had the best ensemble of the year, and it was just all around a fantastic film. So that's my number 5.
I totally agree, and my number 5 is also 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Hey.
Nice.
I guess you're Angela Hayes' mother.
That's right. I'm Angela Hayes' mother.
So, Mildred Hayes, why did you put up these billboards?
My daughter Angela was murdered 7 months ago. It seems to me the police department is too busy torturing black folks to solve actual crime.
The hell is this? I think we got kind of a problem.
Sunshine beating on a good
I'd do anything to catch your daughter's killer. I don't think those billboards is very fair.
The time it took you to get out here whining like a bitch, Willoughby. Some other poor girl's probably out there being butchered right now.
The town is dead set against these billboards.
You know who threw that can?
What can?
How about you, sweetheart?
No, I didn't really...
Go, girl.
Yeah, this movie, for all the reasons you said, Daniel, it's unpredictable. The performances across the board are excellent. It has a couple of my favorite scenes, favorite in quotes because it wasn't an easy watch, but just my favorite put together scenes of the year. It's a hard watch, but it is an excellent film. I agree with you all the way. So that gets us up to number 4. Chris, what's your number 4?
Well, it's award season, and this next one is up for a few Razzies, that is. It's up for the worst actress, worst supporting actor, and worst director. What movie could I be talking about other than Mother?
We spend all our time here. I want to make a paradise.
She redid all of it, every last detail. And she breathed life back into every room.
Are you happy?
I love you. Please, come in. Hello.
Hello. He's a stranger. We're just gonna let him sleep in our house. Hello.
Hello.
Did you know he had a wife? He has pictures of you in his luggage.
What were you doing in their luggage?
Mother took me on a journey that it's so hard to even talk about without with knowing that maybe somebody who's listening to you hasn't seen the film.
Like me.
It is, yeah. I'm going to do my best to just not say much about it other than the journey that it takes you on is so unexpected. I thought expertly crafted and put together. I mean, you can say it's one of the worst films you saw this year. That's fine. But I still, if you argue that the director didn't know what he was doing and didn't put this together the exact way that he wanted to, you'd be wrong. Because I think the way that they do things here is just spectacular, unlike anything else. And I was genuinely blown away. And I've thought about this film probably more than any other movie I've seen this year. It was insanity, and it was amazing. So for me, Mother is my number 4.
The Razzies are so dumb.
I know.
And even people who don't like the movie, it's not in my top 10, but nobody thinks Jennifer Lawrence was one of the worst actresses of the year. That's stupid.
Well, her performance is one of the best things in the movie.
Exactly.
It is.
So
it is.
dumb.
Yeah. Well, see, that's I was just looking up, the different films that I had chosen in my top 5 just to kind of see the background, and I was amazed. The top hits are Mother nominated for Razzie Awards. So I was like, what? How? I don't understand. I do though. There's a certain group of people who would see this movie and not think about it at all, and it could be one of the worst movies of the year to you. I understand that, but I think the conversation that you can have after this movie might sway you. So
right.
I think it's powerful. I really do think this movie is powerful.
I understand how and why some people could hate this movie.
Yeah.
I do not understand how anyone could think that it isn't put together just in the highest ways, from performance to cinematography and it's clear that Aronofsky had a very specific thing that he was doing, and he did it. Now, you may not like it, but he did it.
Yeah.
This is polarizing for sure, but the Razzie, come on, man. Come on. What was that movie, Daniel? I haven't even seen it, but by Colin Trevorrow, that was, you said, was so bad. Right? So that movie isn't nominated for any Razzies, and Mother is? I mean, really?
The Book of Henry you're talking about.
Book of Henry.
Don't even get me freaking started. I could talk about how bad that movie is for a long time.
Well,
what
also
I'm saying.
one of the first hits too here is the Razzie wastes everyone time by nominating Mother and not The Snowman. Apparently, people are very upset about that. That's from AV Club. So no, I totally agree, man. This Mother was so good. I loved it.
Number 4, that's really high. All right, Chris. All right, Josh, to you now. What is your number 4?
My number 4 hasn't shown up on anyone's list yet, which means it hasn't made anyone else's top 10. But oh well, I'm going to say it anyway. It's a very traditionalist awards bait type pick, but my number 4 is The Post. And the performances and the production value and put togetherness of this movie, I think, deserves it a spot somewhere. And you're probably going to see it because it's a Spielberg movie if you haven't seen it yet, but just watch it.
Don't write my list for me. You don't know what's on my list.
That's true. I don't know. It could be much higher, but I figured it wouldn't have made anyone's top 5, but I could be wrong. Everyone's seen at least like the number of movies I've seen squared, so.
That was my number 11, so it almost made it.
Close then, close.
Yeah, it didn't make my top 10, but you never know with Chris. We'll see.
No, it's on my honorable mentions. Posted not my top 5.
Spoiler alert.
All right, so now, Daniel, that takes us to you. What's your number 4 of 2017?
It's honestly a shock that Get Out is only number 4 for me because I really loved this movie. And it was my number 1 movie of the year for quite a long time. I think it is easily one of the best horror movies made in a very long time. It's a fantastic social commentary and one of the best directorial debuts of all time. It is so smart and so tense. It never stoops to cliches. Movies like Get Out are not often, so that's why I'm so glad we had it. I can't wait to see what Jordan Peele does next because this movie was just gripping and incredible, and everyone should watch it.
I don't know. It maybe stooped to one cliche, but it was a very funny cliche, so it deserved to be in there.
Okay.
Yeah. It spoiler alert, but it did not make my top 10, but that would probably be my number 11. I think it's a great movie for all the reasons that you said. Now, of all the movies for me that are on my list, this is the one that I've seen the most recently. I saw it just a couple of days ago, and so I hope that it's not just the immediacy of the impact that it had on me. But the more that I've seen it, this movie I think is tailor-made for the kinds of things that I enjoy and the kinds of things that move me. It is funny. It is weird. It's unique. It's beautifully shot. And it moved me in a significant way. And that movie is Brigsby Bear. I know not a lot of people have seen this. I know Daniel mentioned it in one of our recent blog posts about movies that you probably missed. But this movie is... Daniel, I think in your article you wrote that it was a love letter to filmmaking. I read it more as, although I can certainly see that, a love letter to nostalgia, meaning the things that we are nostalgic about because they help raise us as kids and how they impact us as we grow. It has an incredibly cool premise, and the central performance is this movie may be the sweetest movie I've seen in 3 or 4 years. It's just not a mean bone in its body. And with a slate of films that are constantly exploring things that are dark and negative or mean, it was a breath of fresh air to me. And I love this movie. And whatever I can do to get people to see it, I strongly suggest go out and see Brigsby Bear.
Did you
Daniel,
watch?
You liked it, right?
Oh my gosh, I freaking love Brigsby Bear. I'm so bummed that it's not on my list. It was in there for a long time, and I just reshaped things. But I absolutely love Brigsby Bear. Did you watch it on my recommendation?
Yes.
All right, I'll take that as a win.
Yeah,
Man,
for sure.
That movie is so good. I watched it twice, and it's so sweet. Like, it's just such a sweet movie.
It's so sweet, but not in a way that is cliche.
Right.
It's so good. Chris, you should definitely watch this with Melody. Melody, I think, will love this movie.
Where is it available on streaming, or is it
you can rent it. You can rent it now.
All right, done.
And now, folks, we're to our top 3 picks. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. It's getting serious. So far, I think, just to catch us up, Logan has appeared on 3 of our lists.
Yep,
and
it'll
Get
stop
Out
there.
has
I'll just spoilers.
There you go.
No, wait for it.
Get Out has appeared on 2. We'll see where things go now that we're into our top 3. So, Chris, what is your number 3 film of 2017?
Actually, I hate to correct you, but Get Out's going to appear on 3 because Get Out is my number 3 movie of the year.
All right.
Man, this movie, so good. I've got a lot of thrillers on my list this year, and this was one of the, it is the best. It does a great job of faking you out. You think the movie is about one thing, and then it's not, and then it kind of actually is, but it's really a great film. And if you haven't seen it, you should, and see it with a group of people, because especially folks who, maybe aren't huge fans of horror films, just like Josh was not a fan of horror film, because I think this will surprise them. It's done excellently, done very well, and with purpose. And so for me, Get Out is my number 3 film of the year.
All right, good pick. Cannot argue with that one bit. All right, Joshua, where are you? What's your number 3?
Well, my number 3 is a movie that I saw nowhere near its release date. I waited a long time to see it, but that gave me the chance to see it when it came back to my town at a 70mm laser IMAX Stories High screen. It was fantastic, and that movie is Dunkirk.
Yeah, it is.
Nice.
Thank you, Chad, for inviting me to finally go see that movie, because for all the reasons that have already been stated, it takes war movies that we've seen a lot, we've seen this genre a lot, and it puts it together in a very original way. It's gripping and it's tense. You expect that from a war movie, but this one does it in a very different way, and you almost have to rewatch it to really understand everything that happened in the movie. And I'll leave it at that. It is edge of your seat movie, and it's great.
Can I ask have you seen it again? Did you watch it again, or did you only see it once?
So I haven't.
Oh.
But I went with Chad, and it was his. Was it your second time or third time at that point?
That was my second.
I don't want to spoil anything, but this is going to show up later on one of my lists, and I can't wait to discuss
here we
this.
go. Here we
listen,
go.
I'm here to tell you that laser IMAX should be the only way that you can screen movies. It's
Yes.
so awesome.
It is fantastic.
So awesome, and especially for a movie like that.
I watched it on my iPhone. It's really great.
You millennial.
Amazing.
Of course you did.
Seeing it in that format was a little bit, it takes you out of the experience every once in a while, because there are certain scenes that they weren't able to shoot on that giant IMAX camera. And so it was going in and out of giant full screen in your face to normal widescreen, and that was a little bit strange.
Yeah,
but
stop picking nits, Josh.
I'm not,
But you're right.
I
You're
won't.
right. You're right.
It was great.
All right, Daniel, what about you? What is your number 3 pick?
Baby Driver. It is just effortlessly cool. It is so much fun. Edgar Wright directs the movie with such confidence that it doesn't veer off track for a second. Hey, that was an accidental kind of pun. It's so much fun. Every action sequence makes your hands sweat, and it all looks so good because there's pretty much no special effects used. It's all real. It looks amazing, and it's also more than car chases. The chemistry between the cast is great. Between Ansel Elgort and Lily James's characters is great, and there's some nice romance there. The music is incredible, and it's directed to the music so well, unlike any other movie I've ever seen, even including musicals. So it's just all around such a cool movie, such a fun movie. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. I can't agree more, man. Love that movie.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I haven't seen that one a second time, but I really want to. I'm sure that it's just as good as I remember.
It's even better on the second viewing. I mean, I haven't seen
I
it twice, but it's even better on the second viewing.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Well, my number 3 is a film that I also saw a long time ago, and it was written and directed, essentially his main directorial debut, but from a screenwriter who's also an actor who's been in tons of television, and his name is Taylor Sheridan. He's the screenwriter behind Sicario and Hell or High Water, which was in my top 5 last year. And this year he wrote and directed a movie called Wind River, and it is fantastic. The story, the pacing, the drama, the way that the action is set up, it's kind of Coen-ish in the way that these sudden outbursts of violence that are built up to when they happen. It's very cathartic. Performances across the board, I think, are really very good. And he showed, for his debut to be directed in the snow, it's gorgeous cinematography. And it's not a movie that a lot of people have seen, but it's one that I highly recommend. I mean, this guy, for his first three major things to be Sicario, Hell or High Water, and now this one, I'm a fan. Consider me on board with anything that he does. So for me, that's Wind River.
Fun fact, he actually directed a really crappy horror movie a few years before he did Sicario, but he just is telling people it's his directorial debut because he's embarrassed.
So he's also a liar.
Yeah. But Wind River
just
is
like
fantastic.
everyone in Hollywood. No worries. He'll fit right in.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Wind River, any of you?
So good.
I haven't, no.
Yeah, it's great.
I love the how do I say it without getting spoilers? Like the construction. There's a cut in this movie that is just wild. It's so well done.
Yeah, it's really, really good movie. All right, so now we're to our top two. Here we go. Chris, what is your number two?
For me, my number two is Blade Runner 2049. Look, I think Denis Villeneuve has now become my favorite director in Hollywood. I don't know, he just blows me away. He's contemplative. He takes his time. He's willing to make you uncomfortable, but everything he shoots is just beautiful. And of course, this was shot by Roger Deakins, and every frame in this movie could be hung up on a wall and is art. It really is incredible. I loved the experience of seeing this film. I enjoyed everything about it. I think, look, to be in that room and someone recommend that they make a sequel to Blade Runner, many people who think that film is so heady and a great film, and I watched it in one of our film courses in college, and people talk about it all the time as one of the better sci-fi films, or kind of changed sci-fi the last 30 years, 40 years. It's incredible that they decided to make a sequel, and it's even more incredible that the sequel was this great. And so for me, it was Blade Runner 2049. I adored this film.
All right, high praise. All right, now that goes to Josh. Josh, I must admit that I thought Dunkirk was going to be your number one, so now I am completely on pins and needles. What's your number two film of the year?
Well, this is going to be interesting then. All right, so my number two movie has made it up to number two. Maybe there are other movies on my list that were better movies. There's certainly more predictable choices than this, but it made it up there so high just for how gripping it was and how much I was just in from very, very soon into the movie. You start out watching one movie and a little bit in it completely turns on you, and that movie is Icarus.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just like Chris said, do not watch the trailer, don't do any of it. Go watch the movie, start the movie, buy into the premise from the beginning, and then just watch what happens.
Oh man!
The whole time you're like, this is just some guy who stumbled on all this, and what's going to happen? It's way beyond the bounds of what a normal documentary is, and it's not a put on at all because you know this from the news, and it's fantastic.
It really is. It's so good. This movie.
Everyone
I've recommended this movie to immediately about halfway through their viewing sends me a text and say, "What is this?" I'm like, "Right? That's why I told you to watch this, man." 'Cause everybody's like, "No, I don't want to watch a documentary." Trust me.
Right?
Just
Exactly.
Watch this thing.
First of all, anybody that says they don't want to watch a documentary should not be your friend.
I agree, man.
Look,
I pick them very carefully.
Chris is spreading the good news to all of us.
So good.
Yes.
Good for you. My favorite documentary, it's probably my second favorite documentary, and when we get to honorable mentions, I'll tell you about my favorite. But yeah, I agree. Icarus is absolutely great. All right, Daniel, number two for you. What's your second favorite of 2017?
There is no other movie from 2017 that stuck in my brain like The Florida Project. When I first saw it, I really liked it a lot, but I kind of placed it low on my list, like 9 or 10 or something. And then after a day or so, I just couldn't stop thinking about the movie, and it was just running through my mind the whole time, so I bumped it up a few spots. I saw the movie a second time and bumped it up even more to like 4 or 5, and then I've still just kept thinking about this movie all year long or however long I've seen it, maybe 3 months. And I just kept bumping it up and up and up. And so it's my number 2 favorite movie. It is so charming and joyous hanging out with these kids in their life. Brooklyn Prince is a revelation. She is so good. But it's also kind of a heartbreaking film. It highlights realities of poverty and child abuse and these real sad issues. But it never stops being charming and utterly authentic and has some of the best performances of the year. I really cannot stop thinking about this movie. I really want you all to watch it. The Florida Project. It's so good. Chad, I know you watched it. Did you feel the same as I did?
I mean, maybe not quite that strong, but yes, it's still very great. And I think the takeaway here is if we wait another 2 weeks, this may jump up to number 1.
It really
just
could.
needs more time. Awesome. That's a great pick. Okay, so for me, my number 2 is one that we've heard before, and this one for the longest time was my number 1 until maybe just a month or so ago, and that is Dunkirk. This movie is pure cinema. Christopher Nolan, his entire career has prepared him to make this kind of a war movie that, I read things talking about how the script was only like 37 pages and a lot of just direction about action. And he wanted to make his version of almost non-dialogue film. It is so tense. The performances are unbelievable. If it wasn't for Roger Deakins, who I hope wins the award for cinematography, and I think he will, this one would be a slam dunk. It's unlike anything that I've ever seen, and it is just a masterpiece of filmmaking. It is a masterpiece of filmmaking. So for me, and the second viewing is even better because I admit the first time through can be a little tricky to kind of follow everything that's happening, but it's just a phenomenally good film. So now, folks, it brings us to that fateful moment. Our number 1 picks of 2017. So far, it seems as if Dunkirk is probably in the lead, if not by a narrow margin over Get Out and Logan. So let's see if anything changes with our number 1 picks. Chris.
Yes.
Your favorite film of 2017.
Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Wow.
Man, this movie is freaking fantastic.
Number 1.
Number 1.
Wow.
It is so wonderful. I loved everything about it, what it stood for, what it was about, the fact that it is something that I'm going to get to share with my daughters sooner rather than later. I adored this movie, and I've seen it the most of any film in the theater this year. I've seen it, I think 3 times now. I'm hoping to see it a 4th here shortly. It is just, man, this movie is really, truly great. I had a blast with Star Wars: The Last Jedi. It was unexpected. I thought for sure that what JJ had done with The Force Awakens and what they had done with Rogue One is going to kind of be the baseline, and everything else is going to kind of go downhill from there. But I really do think this sets, in my mind anyway, kind of a new high in that franchise. And I adored it, man. The Last Jedi. That is my number 1 pick.
Chris pulling out the surprise. Wow. The Last Jedi.
Heck yeah, honorable mentions.
I agree that I have seen that movie 3 times. I've seen it 3 times in the theater. It's a great movie. It is. It's a great movie.
Yeah. No. Again, this is our favorites of the year, right? So this is without a doubt my favorite film of the year. No doubt.
Hey, listen, you stand strong over there. Ryan Johnson made a Star Wars movie. People, whether you believe it or not, he did. All right, Josh. So I'm definitely curious here. I'm genuinely curious. What is your number 1 film of 2017?
So, did you just honestly say that Chris picking a Star Wars movie as his favorite movie was a surprise?
That's fair. I didn't really you're right. You're right.
I've literally been saying this for the last however long it's been since we've seen the film.
It's true.
My favorite movie of the year.
Let me tell you what a surprise is. A surprise is when I abandon all of my street cred that I have built up through my, what has it now been, 5 years on this show? And say that my number 1 movie of 2017 was The Big Sick.
Oh,
nice.
Why does that damage your credibility? It's a great film.
It's amazing.
Because it's a romantic.
Other people like it.
And because it's like about human people and emotions, and like it's a romantic comedy. and
which you
it's
are not
sweet.
one. Yes, exactly.
That has been my entire persona this whole time. So
True,
yes, yes. No, the Big Sick. It's just great. It's funny. It's heartfelt. The performances are great. I don't know whether it counts because Kumail Nanjiani is playing himself, but the woman who plays his partner in this movie is not playing herself. So there's that. But it's just a good movie from start to finish.
Nice. I agree. It's in my honorable mentions. It's a great movie, no doubt about it. All right, Daniel. So here we are. Your number one film of 2017 out of the 100,000 movies that you saw. What is your favorite?
I am so upset that this movie is on nobody else's list tonight because it is a very nearly perfect film, and that is Lady Bird.
I hate California. I want to go to the East Coast. I want to go where culture is, like New York,
did I raise such a
or at least
snob?
Connecticut or New Hampshire, where writers live in the
Get
woods.
into those schools anyway.
Mom,
You should just go to City College. You know, with your work ethic, just go to City College and then to jail and then back to City College, and then maybe you'd learn to pull yourself up and not expect everybody to do everything.
Lady Bird, is that your given name?
Yeah.
Why is it in quotes?
I gave it to myself. It's given to me by me.
Lady Bird always says that she lives on the wrong side of the tracks, but I always thought that was like a metaphor. But there are actual train tracks.
What she did was very baller. It was very anarchist.
Put the magazine back!
She has a big heart, your mom.
She's warm, but she's also kind of scary.
You can't be scary and warm.
I think you can. Your mom is.
So, you're not interested in any Catholic colleges?
No way. I want schools like Yale, but not Yale because I probably couldn't get in.
You definitely couldn't get in.
I was completely enamored by Lady Bird. Like I said, it's pretty much perfect. Saoirse Ronan gives such an honest and authentically high school performance. So much of this movie just feels so high school in the best possible way. It's just so real. Laurie Metcalf is wonderful as well, and together they show this really layered and complex mother-daughter relationship, and it's really incredible to watch. It's a coming-of-age film, but it's so relatable, hilarious. It's got perfect pacing, and it's just completely charming. It hit every right note for me. It's easily the best film of the year. It's Lady Bird, and it should always be Lady Bird.
I think La La Land is offended, Dane.
Now, to be fair, I have a suspicion that would have made my list, but I haven't seen it.
I think you would really love that movie.
I will see it someday soon when it hits the streaming platforms.
You know that just as well as you know that Dunkirk is best on its second viewing. You know that.
Look, I saw it with Chad, and when he said that as we left the movie, I was like, yeah, I can see how that would absolutely be true. So that was where I got that from.
I think Lady Bird is probably a little too positive for you to like it, Josh.
The Big Sick is pretty well. Oh, maybe
no,
not.
Lady Bird is like it's made for Daniel. It's like if you took Daniel's brain out and pulled a movie out that's Lady Bird. It's like perfect for him. Whereas
so
you, I don't know.
It's a coming of Daniel's age film.
It is.
I'll accept that. It's a great movie.
It is a good movie. I will agree with that for
it's
sure.
It's a great movie. Don't just shush.
I think the scene in the car with the mom and the daughter is maybe the funniest scene that I saw this year. It was really hilarious. That whole go to jail and then she throws herself out of the car. All that was really great. I just didn't think the rest of the movie was as funny. But
if you're wrong,
again,
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. We'll get to that a little bit later. So that brings me now to my number one. When I had Dunkirk as my number one for so long, I just kind of cemented it that it would be. And when I saw this movie, maybe 20, 30 minutes after the movie was over, I was still emotional about it, still thinking about it, watched it again. And it is clearly number one, and it's not the kind of movie that I think would normally be my number one, or hasn't historically been. But it's like I told Daniel earlier, I did not feel, when he was talking about the Florida Project, I did not feel the same way that he did. That's because I like it even more, and it's my number one film, the Florida Project.
Okay, I warned you, one drip and you're out.
Oh, come on!
Out now.
It's gonna melt outside.
It's melting inside, too.
But Bobby...
Out.
Thank you very much. You're not welcome. The man who lives in here gets arrested a lot. These are the rooms we're not supposed to go in. But let's go anyway. Could you give us some change, please? The doctor said we have asthma and we gotta eat ice cream right away. Here you go.
Hey, Lee, we got a situation here. Open up. It's only second week of the summer and there's already been a dead fish in the pool.
We're trying to get it back alive.
Water balloons thrown at tourists.
Boobies! Boobies!
I failed as a mother, Moni.
Yeah, Mom, you're a disgrace.
This movie is heartbreaking and hilarious and beautifully shot, and it talks about and explores so many things that are pertinent. As Daniel mentioned, it talks about poverty, and the thing is, these kids, they don't know that they're poor.
Yeah.
They don't know that they're being abused. They love their parents. They love their life, and they find joy in everything in their life. And growing up in a state, specifically when I lived in Alabama, around abject poverty, this movie absolutely gets it so right. Brooklyn Prince, who I think in real life is 7 but plays a 6-year-old, is unbelievably good. I mean, I cannot overstate how good she was. This film is so moving, and so, just thinking about it now, I almost get emotional because Willem Dafoe is wonderful as kind of a protector and caretaker who also has his own problem. It's an ugly world, an ugly situation, and they find beauty and joy in it. And I could not love this movie anymore. It was not even close. It's my number one. I don't know if the Academy, if it's going to get any love other than maybe Dafoe. We'll see. But over the course of 2017, I was not moved more. I mean, only The Brave, but in a different way. This is just a profound film that has stayed with me to today, and I cannot recommend it enough.
I am so happy right
gotta
now.
See it. Yeah, it's so good. It is so good. A beautiful, beautiful movie. All right, so Daniel had Florida Project number 2. I had it number 1. Then we had Dunkirk. I had it number 2. Chris, where was it for you?
Dunkirk?
Yeah.
Nowhere.
Not
on my list at all.
Daniel, where was it for you?
It was number 7.
Number 7, and Josh, for you, it was number 3?
Number 3.
Okay, so that's a 2 and a 3 versus a 1 and a 2 and a 7. I don't know.
Get Out? Where's Get Out?
Get Out's not on my list.
It was a 4 for me.
It's a 3 for me. And where were you?
7.
7.
It sounds like Florida Project for sure.
Interesting. Okay, well,
the Big Sick was on 2 or 3 lists.
2.
Oh, okay.
I think it's probably going to be a tie between Florida Project based on a 1 and a 2, and Dunkirk. Probably.
No, I don't. Let's just not even do it. Let's just say that it was.
Sorry, it's just true.
No, it's not. You can't say that there's a definitive
numbers
here.
Don't lie, Chris. They're higher numbers and lower numbers.
Your math is totally
But there are more lower numbers. We outnumber you.
Yeah, that doesn't even make any sense, my friend. Sorry.
Dunkirk is on 3 lists. A number 3. What are you talking about? No, it is. It literally is. It's a number 2, a number 4. Get Out's lower. Get Out's lower. Get Out's lower.
Get Out is way lower.
Get Out's lower, brother.
Get Out doesn't compete here.
It doesn't. It's probably going to have to be Dunkirk by default, or maybe Florida Project. So,
why does it have to be either one of those things? Let's say it was inconclusive.
Wait, can I make a case for Lady Bird?
No, no, you can't.
No, you can't.
All right, let's move on. All
right, so let's jump to our quick honorable mentions here, since we've crowned the Florida Project and Dunkirk. Chris, what were some of your honorable mentions that just missed your list?
War for the Planet of the Apes. I really had a great time with and thought was an excellent film. It was on my list for the longest time, and Molly's Game just kicked it off. I had a good time with it. See here, Disaster Artist was there. The Big Sick is on my honorable mentions. And also a film that I had a good time with that just couldn't make the list just because, well, there's other really great movies, but it was Thor Ragnarok. I thought that movie was really well made and well done, but not on my top 10.
Okay, Josh?
Yeah, I don't know. I barely got 10 that I liked. Honorable mention, my first one would probably be Lego Batman, just because for a couple of the songs and the beginning of the movie, it started to fall apart, but there was humor in the beginning. And the next one I just have to put there for originality because it was original, and that was Baby Driver.
Nice. Yes, absolutely right. Daniel, how about you? Honorable mentions?
We already talked about it, but Brigsby Bear is my first honorable mention. I absolutely cannot recommend that film more highly. It's just so charming, so good. So you really need to watch it. And then Stronger. Did any of you watch Stronger?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's a magnificent performance, for sure.
Yeah, I really can't believe that film isn't a bigger awards contender this year. It was so... I was literally about to say it was so strong. It's a great movie. So, yeah, that's on my honorable mentions. Disaster Artist was hilarious. Phantom Thread was great. Wind River, Molly's Game, and The Post are my honorable mentions.
Good picks. For me, I had honorable mentions of I, Tonya, Phantom Thread, Get Out. The Meyerowitz Stories, actually, I really dug that movie quite a bit. Darkest Hour, just because of the central performance, although the movie itself isn't that great. Shape of Water, and Battle of the Sexes. That didn't get a lot of love, but I really like that movie. One that I will fight you for is The Greatest Showman. In your face, Daniel. In your face. It's actually not on my honorable mentions, but I liked it, so I had to say that. So those are my honorable mentions. It is. I'll say it. Yeah, it's there. And then I actually had The Last Jedi on mine as well, because I'm with Chris. I think that's a good film. That's it. That's our roundup for our top 10s of 2017. Daniel is now going to take us through some of the specifics of movies in 2017. But I'd say overall, guys, it's been a very good year in cinema. So many good movies. And I'm super proud that we were able to crown The Florida Project and Dunkirk as our winners. So, Daniel, take us away.
Yeah, we have just a few more categories to go through. We're going to start off with the most disappointing film of the year. So we've talked about all the movies that we loved and that we dug this year. But now we're going to talk about the disappointing ones. And we said disappointing, not worst, because a lot of times there could be a movie that's objectively the worst of the year. But often some of the movies that make us the most angry are the ones that disappointed us the most. So that's where we're going to start. All right, so Chris, what is your most disappointing film of 2017?
For me, it was Ghost in the Shell. We've talked about that, I think, a little bit at the very beginning, or maybe before we started recording. But I just was looking forward to that film. I like the original anime, and so I was hoping that it would at least be a passable, enjoyable sci-fi film, and it ended up being none of those things. It is a mess. It's a train wreck. It goes nowhere. And it's really unfortunate. It's just a waste of resources, in my opinion. So for me, I was very disappointed with Ghost in the Shell.
Yep, that is a very, very disappointing movie. Good pick. All right, Josh, your most disappointing.
I don't know whether I can follow that. Ghost in the Shell is a very good pick for that category. And since I don't want to just duplicate that, I'm going to have to go with Baby Driver, even though I just gave it an honorable mention.
What?
Yeah.
How dare you, Josh?
So here's the thing. I knew Baby Driver was supposed to be a very original setup going in, and had a lot to do with music, and it was all that. The just implausible plot and over the top characters and all the just crazy action beats that just didn't make any sense just lost me too much for me to enjoy it. I'm not a crazy action movie kind of person. This movie was a comic book, and the ending just kind of sealed the sadness that I had with it. And
the fun part of Josh's brain has been broken for some time.
It did. The ending was very sad. Very, very sad.
Josh, that needs to be like the way you end all of your reviews. And let me tell you the way that this sealed my sadness.
It unsealed it, and then it resealed it for future generations.
So funny. I love it.
All right,
I'll probably end up rewatching this soon just so my wife can see it. Maybe I'll like it better this time, but I kind of doubt it.
Well, don't let us know, because I don't want my heart to be broken. All right.
La La Land was boring.
Chad.
You're right about that, Josh. Thank you.
Oh, stop.
I fell asleep.
I'm going to get so mad here soon. Chad, what is your most disappointing movie of 2017?
I actually have a tie for this. I pulled a Chris. I had two. One is actually a good movie, and the first half of this movie, I thought I was going to love it. And then it was really long, and so the second half turned out to not like it, and that honestly is Blade Runner 2049. It's immaculately made, I get it, but for me it was disappointing because I thought the first 45 to 50 minutes of this movie, I was enraptured. I thought it was going to be so great, and it just was like a slow plane crash from there to the end. So for me, it was that one. But the biggest disappointment, no surprise to anybody that's listening to the podcast, the freaking Dark Tower. I just for every reason that we've already mentioned, it's well documented.
Yeah,
they screwed up my life and my childhood. So it's
you're
the Dark
right,
Tower,
man.
and I don't need to go into why. It's
that wins. That wins.
Does it though? I mean, there's a different criteria for most disappointing. There's most disappointing as in like you hope this could be a good movie, but it wasn't. We all knew Dark Tower was going to be awful, didn't we?
That's true. That's true.
Yes.
That is.
But I held out hope, Josh. There's always hope.
You didn't though. You didn't.
I didn't. You're right.
All right. Well, that is certainly a good pick for most disappointing. For me, I think the movie that made me the most mad was The Mummy. It's the movie it's the movie that made Melody swear off of Tom Cruise. It is
I think she's back though. I think she's back.
Okay, well that's good, but I wouldn't blame her because The Mummy it just could have been so good. Like it was a good idea. The whole franchise was a good idea. They had Tom Cruise, who is usually good. It had so much going for it, and it was just so bad. It was just really, really bad. So I don't know what happened. And the whole Dark Universe freaking folded in. It's gone now. It doesn't exist. They had all these movies planned. It's ridiculous.
You're right.
How embarrassing. All right. So those are our most disappointing films. Next, we're going to go on to categories that we do every year. It is we have two kind of opposite categories. The movie that I loved that everyone else hated, and then vice versa. So we're going to start with the movie that you loved that it seems like everybody else hated. And we'll go to you, Chris.
Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets. Look, I just rewatched this with Ray.
That's a good choice. You're right.
What's happening? You are right.
So I just rewatched this with Melody, and she loved it as well. I think if you have a certain affinity for this kind of sci-fi, I genuinely like this movie. It's a good movie, and I don't know what happened, why people hate it so much. But I really did like it a lot.
Guys, he likes Fifth Element as well, so it's all right.
I love the Fifth Element.
What's wrong with the Fifth Element?
It's fantastic.
Fifth Element is fantastic parody.
All right.
Well,
so there it is.
That's a good pick. That is a very factual pick. Yes. So good job there. All right, Josh, a movie that you loved that everyone else hated. This must be a tough one.
Yes, finding the movie that I loved is. And again, loved is a strong term for this, but I had to go with something that seemed to fit the category slightly. And I've already covered this, but I guess it's going to have to be this year, War Machine, because yeah. I feel like that's the only argument I'll get from anyone that for a movie that should have been on a top 10 list. I think Brad Pitt alone is worth the price of admission here, along with the fact that the whole plot of the movie seems so plausible because it is a real story, even if it is so very, very sad and awful. But
I would say it's a safe bet that you're the only person in the world that has that on a top 10 list.
That's true.
Probably.
Yeah, so there we go.
Yeah, it fits. Nice. All right, Chad, what's your pick?
Loved is definitely too strong a word. These are liked. One is The Greatest Showman, again, in your face,
Wait,
Daniel.
Everybody loves that movie.
No, critics gave it like a 50%. But that's not my real pick. My real pick, and I will die on this hill, and I don't care what you morons think, Alien Covenant. Okay.
Oh, come on.
I said it.
Wow.
I said it. I don't love it, but I like it, and I think it is unfairly crushed. It's not nearly as bad as everybody makes it out to be. It's become its own self-fulfilling prophecy about the poster child for being terrible, and it's not a terrible movie. So anyway, that's I'm sticking to it.
That may be on my most disappointed list. But
yeah.
Yes, I see where you're coming from, I guess, but for me it was definitely disappointing.
Yeah, it's not terrible. You are right, Chad. It's not terrible. It just sucks. That's all.
It's no Valerian. Okay, I'm sorry.
Valerian is truly great. It really is.
All right. Well, for me, everybody else said it. Loved is certainly too strong of a word because I do not love this movie, but I like overall Netflix's adaptation of Death Note. I thought that was
wow.
I know people hate that movie, and I don't see why you hate. Again, I do not love it. It's okay as a movie, but I did like it, and people seem to really hate that movie, and I don't see why. I thought it was enjoyable.
I'm gonna have to watch that because I watched that whole anime series like in college or after college, and I can only imagine how awful that movie is.
I think that's part of it. That's what I said to people I was talking to about it. I had zero connection to Death Note. I didn't even really know the story, and so the story is kind of inherently fascinating. So I was fascinated with the story, but to somebody who already knew the story, it could be boring and dull. I can see that. So that's why I liked it. All right, so we will move on to the opposite version of this. The movie I hated that everyone else loved, and maybe those are too strong words, whatever. That's what we're calling it. So Chris, what are your picks?
I've already teased this, but Dunkirk would be that for me. Yeah, no, totally.
Insane.
I am a huge Christopher Nolan fan, but for the exact reasons why you guys liked it, apparently, it's just too confusing. The plot that doesn't need to be told that way. It was only done so it would be quote unquote more interesting, and I don't think it works. It's unfortunate because it's shot so well, it's acted so well, the movie is fantastic. It looks great, but the actual payoff of what you have to go through to get there, I just don't think is worth it, and it's unfortunate. I think it kind of nearly ruins the film. It just nearly does. So that's for me. It's Dunkirk.
Wow. So to recap,
is fantastic.
Yes.
To recap, this movie is fantastic. I hated it.
No, I enjoyed Dunkirk, and listen, you can go back and listen to our review if you haven't already. But I just think that the way that the plot unfolds is unnecessarily clunky and confusing. And like you said, it's definitely better going back the second time when you realize, oh, that's what was going on after they tell you that an hour and 20 minutes in. It would have been nice just to understand that at the beginning, and I think you would have enjoyed the movie better. I just think the use of that device is unnecessarily confusing for the audience.
You described any movie with a twist, but I digress.
That's not a twist, though. If a twist makes the movie better, then it's cool. But I don't think this twist makes it better. I don't like that twist. I think that twist is unnecessary.
Is it a twist? I just thought it was a storytelling device.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's a storytelling device that is not necessary. And if it was a twist, if it made the story better, I would be all for it. But it doesn't. It's inexplicable. I don't understand why it's done that way. I just don't.
And I 100% disagree. But that's just how it is.
Well, that's why it's a good pick for this category.
That's
so
right.
There we go. All right, so Josh, this is a very easy category for you. What is a movie you hated that everyone else loved?
You assume that it's very easy for me to just pick one.
True.
That's your fatal assumption there. I'm going to have to pick a movie that hasn't been mentioned at all, which I guess is good. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 fits this bill for me.
Oh, okay.
So the first one of these movies was funny at times. It was a little over the top silly, but it had its moments. But this one just hit all the wrong notes. Like Drax, Dave Bautista's character, the big burly guy, like didn't fit with the way he was set up in the first movie. He was stiff and strange. Kurt Russell's performance was just awful, or either awful performance or awful writing, one of the two. And almost all the laugh lines just fell flat, and the movie never should have been made. Guardians Volume 2.
How dare you? I loved Guardians Volume 2.
I mean, there was that dance scene at the very beginning with Baby Groot, so there's that. But outside of that,
you know, it's funny. When I was going through the lists and I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2, and I'll be honest, I enjoyed seeing the film. I enjoyed it at the moment, but it is quite forgettable. It didn't stand out. I guess because it was so unique when the first one came out, the second one just didn't kind of rise to that level, and I just kind of blah. I think I kind of agree with you on it.
I feel like the second one was trying to reach up to the first one, and just did not make it.
Yeah, wow. It never stood on its own legs. I kind of see where you're coming from, but I enjoyed that film way more than you did. I know that, but I agree with you. It didn't stick with me.
It's not as good as the first, but it's still a really good movie.
I loved it.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's definitely my favorite Marvel movie of the year, no question.
If Chris said it's fine, I win.
Yeah, no, I think I'm with you, Josh. I agree. I understand where you're coming from.
Much love, Chris. Much love.
Yeah.
One love.
All right, Chad, what is a movie that you hated that everyone else seemed to love?
I didn't hate either one of these movies, but Molly's Game definitely qualifies. I just thought it was okay, and a lot of people really like that. But the real answer...
Oh, how dare you!
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Chris's fake rage is the best fake rage.
Yeah, I think Molly's Game is like in an 81%, and Dunkirk is in a completely different stratosphere. But whatever, potato.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh my goodness!
Keep that voice up. Keep doing that.
Oh my goodness,
that's great.
But my real answer, and I'm sure this will actually inspire some real rage, is Lady Bird.
How freaking dare you, sir?
I told you.
I'm leaving.
Yes.
So
you forgot, sir.
This is not a movie that I dislike. It really isn't. I saw it a second time because I thought maybe I just missed it the first time, and I liked it even less the second time. I feel like I don't understand the hype train. I do believe that it's really very well edited. I think the writing is pretty sharp. Saoirse Ronan is believable. The movie is very authentic, but the sum of all those parts coming together still, it wasn't consistently funny enough to me. There's one moving scene in the middle that I really was touched by. But overall, I don't think it just adds up to anything. It just feels kind of slight to me. So if I had to pick one that was accurate for this list, it would be that. And I'm sorry that I know Daniel loves it very much, and I'm really not just trying to troll, because I really wanted to like this movie because I love coming-of-age films. I just don't like it as much. So there's your answer.
Sorry, I blacked out for a minute. So Chad didn't have a pick. So anyway, my pick for a movie that I hate. Again, hate is a strong word. I didn't hate the movie, but a lot of people seem to love it. Critics didn't love it quite as much, but a lot of people that I've talked to really have a hard time with my opinion on this movie, and that's The Greatest Showman.
This is The Greatest Show! How dare you, Daniel?
The music is mostly great. There are some songs on there that I love, but that movie is so dumb. Oh my gosh, the movie is so dumb. So, but I posted my review on Facebook, and man, moms were really mad at me. So I don't know. So that's my pick for a movie that I hated.
Wait,
everyone else loved.
Hang on just a second. Wait a second.
Did
you literally just say moms? Like
how many moms?
Yeah, hang on a second. Whoa, let's break this down. Are you saying that if you were a mom, you didn't like this movie?
No,
Is that
no, they did.
Moms loved it, and I didn't, and so they were very
they
upset.
didn't like the review.
Yes, they were very upset with my review, which was negative.
As well they should.
And Chad is one of those moms. So
I am.
Yeah, I
stand up for The Greatest Showman.
That's the most comments. It's the most comments and interaction I've ever had with any of my reviews. People were really not happy, so that's why I felt like it was a good pick. All right, we're going to move on to our next category, which are our favorite acting performances of the year. We have male and female, so we're going to start with male. What was your favorite acting performance of the year? Chris, I'll go to you.
So we discussed a little bit of it. I think it was my number 9 pick this year, which was Split, and James McAvoy. He kind of, he's really great in Split, and he does a masterful performance, and it's kind of all on his shoulders, honestly. That movie could have been really bad with anybody else in the lead, and I think he kind of nails it out of the park. Really good job.
Yeah,
yep, agreed.
Great pick, and the sequel comes out in less than a year, so we're almost there.
It's insane, but I'm excited. I'm hoping it'll be great.
It's going to be awesome. All right, Josh, your favorite male performance of the year?
I'm terrible at these categories. I could pick like 5 people, and I doubt I would have much argument from anyone because there were a lot of great performances last year. I can't pick out a specific moment to push one of these over the top, so I'm just going to list a couple, and that'd be Kumail Nanjiani in The Big Sick, though, like I said, that might not be fair since he's playing himself. Brad Pitt in War Machine, and Ryan Gosling in Blade Runner 2049. Although Jared Leto was also pretty great in that movie.
Hey, what did you think of that movie? Did you chime in when we talked about that at all?
It was number 10 on my list. I didn't see it in time for the review, I don't think, or did I? No, I did. We reviewed that movie.
For some reason, I didn't realize you'd put it on your number 10. I must have just totally blacked out. So, okay, great, awesome.
Nice, good picks. All right, Chad, what's your favorite male performance of the year?
Hugh Jackman in The Greatest Showman.
Shut up.
Okay.
Go with Hugh Jackman and Logan. Do it.
So I actually had a couple. Like I actually think Hugh Jackman and Logan was great, but my 2, if I had to narrow it down to 2, would be kind of your classic picks here. Be Daniel Day-Lewis in Phantom Thread, who I think is marvelous as usual. But the best performance that I saw all year long is Sam Rockwell in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. That is a very difficult character to navigate, having to play, without giving spoilers away, the arc that character goes through, which I don't really like the arc in general, but just having to tightrope between what he's required to do in that role is unbelievable. And so I think that's the best one I've seen this year.
Nice. With Daniel Day-Lewis, I actually thought Vicky, I don't know how you say her name, Vicky Krieps, was better than him.
Was even better. I agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yep. And I can't agree more about Sam Rockwell. I was torn between two choices for my pick for Best Male Performance, between Sam Rockwell, who is, I agree with everything you just said. He is just so fantastic in that role. But I actually ended up going with my final pick for Timothée Chalamet in Call Me By Your Name, just because, I mean, he is so subtle.
Can't argue with that. Yeah,
very subtle performance, very guarded, but really, really honest as well. So, yeah, I thought he was the best. I can't wait to see what he does next.
He's the best thing in that movie for sure.
And he's also in Lady Bird, so there you go. And he's great in that as well. All right, Chris, so we go to you for your favorite female performance of the year.
Well, she's up for a Razzie, and I hope she wins. Jennifer Lawrence. Look, honestly, guys, like, it's the camera's on her the entire movie. It's she's amazing.
She's phenomenal.
She's amazing.
I agree.
She's amazing. I was blown away. What she has to go through, the emotional highs and lows, and just guardedness, and the character that she's playing alone is just, oh man, yeah, Jennifer Lawrence in Mother. Sorry if I didn't say it.
That's a great pick. I mean, you said the camera's on her the whole time. I mean, literally, if you tallied up, I bet there's less than a minute of screen time without her in the frame.
Totally,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
totally,
it is.
Good pick. Good pick. All right, Josh, what is your favorite female performance of the year?
Well, I haven't seen Mother, so I'll just put that out there to begin with. This is also tough for me. Meryl Streep in The Post. I thought Meryl Streep, for being as seasoned and as legendary of an actor as she is, her character goes through an actual arc in this movie, and I think she does it flawlessly, as she does most things. But Zoe Kazan, as I hope that's how you say her last name, as Emily, Kumail Nanjiani's partner in The Big Sick, was also really great. I know I just picked The Big Sick as my number one movie and male and female performance, but I don't care, because she was totally believable as being with Kumail, and it was just a great chemistry all around. Also, Catherine Keener was great in Get Out, but I think Meryl Streep and Zoe Kazan probably top the list for me.
Yeah, Catherine Keener. That's true. I forgot her. That's good. That's a good pick too. Yeah,
it is.
I agree with all those picks. So, Chad, now it's to you. Favorite female performance?
For me, again, it came down to two. Allison Janney, I think, was unbelievable in I, Tonya, and I hope she'll win an Oscar. I think she will. But if I'm being honest, the female performance that moved me the most, and it wasn't even close, is what I just talked about with my number one film of the year. It's Brooklyn Prince as Mooney in The Florida Project. It's transcendent. I mean, it's absolutely transcendent. And here's the thing. It's not a non-actor child who's just giving a child performance. She's an actual actor who auditioned and went through the whole process. And the emotion and the authenticity and everything that she's able to bring to this performance playing a 6-year-old is breathtaking. So for me, that was my clear number one.
It warms my heart to see how much you love Florida Project.
I love it.
Oh, man.
So much.
So good. For me, I was torn between two as well. Sally Hawkins in The Shape of Water is just fantastic. I mean, it's a very actory role. I mean, she's playing a mute person, but she does it so well. But I didn't end up picking her as my favorite because The Shape of Water as a movie is good but not great. So
agreed.
I didn't quite love it, even though I loved her performance. So I settled on. Who's going to guess it?
Saoirse Ronan?
Lady Bird! Lady Bird!
Shocker.
Saoirse Ronan. It could have been a tie between her and Laurie Metcalf. Laurie Metcalf is amazing, but Saoirse Ronan just is so good. And she's so, like, it's almost, not that it's that, actory of a role, but it's just seeing her transformation from Brooklyn, a movie a couple of years ago, to this, they're just completely different. And she feels like a completely different actress. She really transformed into this character. And so I think she is fantastic. I think the movie is great. And I love Lady Bird. All right, so those are our awards. Make sure you chime in on social media and let Chris know how wrong he was about Valerian. We want to know what you thought was the best and worst of the year, because I know there was a lot of options in 2017. Well, thanks as always for joining us. Like I said, social media, I forgot to mention our channels. On Twitter, we are at ScreenersCast. On Facebook, you can search The Screeners Podcast and let us know what you think. All right, we will see you next time with our bonus episode where we recap the Oscar nominations. We'll see you then.
And that's a wrap. You've heard what the screeners had to say. Now you be the critic. Head over to screenerspodcast.com and let us know what you think. See you next time.
Honestly, if you have seen Valerian, I know you enjoyed it. So go ahead and leave us a comment on the Facebook page and let us know how much you loved that movie. Because I know you're out there. Let these guys know
somewhere.
How wrong they are.
You're out there somewhere.
Yeah. We look forward to not hearing from you.
No, honestly, there's a lot of folks that I know that enjoyed that film.
Good for you,
Are those
Chris?
the same people that don't like documentaries?
You guys are just a bunch of snobs. Yeah, they're the same people that didn't like. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally.